Well, good afternoon. This is Michael, a museum scientist and naturalist at Sibley Nature Center. And this is another chapter in our occasional podcast for Sibley Nature Center. Today, we want to welcome our guest, Dallas-based artist Elizabeth Dryden. Good afternoon, Elizabeth.
How are you, Michael? Thank you so
I'm
much
doing
for
very
having
well,
me.
thank you. And it's an honor and privilege for you to show your work at Sibley Nature Center. And I assure you, your work is very unique. It's well received.
Well, thank you very much, and it's an honor to be to have my work at the Nature Center.
Yeah. Well, I kind of want to do a go back in time with you, and I was kind of wondering how you what was your start in art? How did you begin as an artist?
Well, I guess I began at a really young age. I started painting and drawing, I guess, like most kids do, but I just kind of continued it throughout my life and had originally wanted to be a veterinarian and realized I was not the side of the brain that's good at math, and I knew I was going to probably be in college for a long time. So I decided to go ahead and do art, which was what came naturally to me. And so, yeah.
Well, it's kind of interesting that combination of interest of yours, because as a child, I was about 3, maybe 4 years old, and I was seriously trying to draw animals and birds and dinosaurs and things like that. And later in adulthood, I wanted to be a veterinarian also. And it was also that side of the brain that the calculus side and the organic chemistry side that kind of put the kibosh on that. And so, yeah, I understand that.
Yeah.
And so, what types of things interested you during childhood that would steer you in this direction?
I guess I'm interested in all the plants and animals in nature, really. That's kind of what my art focuses on, and what I just see so much beauty in God's design of all the variety that he puts out there with, you just look at a little forest area and there's probably, 50 different types of trees and different shapes of leaves, and then the grass, there's all these different types of grasses, and then you got different barks, and then the different animals that live in the trees and on the ground, and there's just so many different colors and shapes and sizes just in one little patch. And then you kind of expand out and think about the whole world, and it can be overwhelming. So I like to take that variety and the shapes and colors and kind of just really make them pop in my art and stand out and focus on that.
Well, I hear the underpinnings of a naturalist in the type of responses that you're giving. And I was wondering, how did you bridge that gap between being the naturalist slash scientist, if you will, and the artist? How did you bring those two together?
I think I bridged the two with just the uniqueness and the way that things are created. Like, I believe God created all of nature, and he's the ultimate artist. And not only is there variety in color and shapes and beauty, there's also purpose behind those features. And it's fascinating to me that, like the beauty of a flower, well, its purpose is to attract a bee, to create more cacti. And so it's just pretty fascinating how it's all interwoven.
Yeah, I'm curious about that because I faced that same thing in my life as well. So I sense some similar pathways between you and me. And I found that there have been times in my life that I was all about science and I wasn't really happy with it. And there were other times I was all about art and I really wasn't happy about it. But when I finally figured out that connection between the two, well, that's when I, shall I say, found my jam. And so that's where I belong. And so I was neither fish nor fowl, but a little bit of both. And so I had to, find some way that worked to bridge the art and the science and mingle them together.
Yeah.
It was not an easy journey. It did not happen overnight. And particularly, it's a type of union that the world out there in general just doesn't seem to understand or get or realize that how can you be both type thing, or at least that's been my experience. Have you experienced anything along those lines?
Well, I kind of feel like in today's world, people are just looking at screens and they're not looking up and seeing what's around them. And, they're just seeing kind of like what's created on a screen by a human. And it's very limited view, limited creativity there. And then if you can step away from that and look at, the plants and the animals and everything that's happening at the same time, right in the world that you're in and all around you, it's, I feel like it's a lot more entertaining and a lot more mentally stimulating.
Yeah, I kind of liken it to, let's say somebody is sitting on the edge of the Grand Canyon looking at a picture of the Grand Canyon on their device and just admiring the picture and,
Yeah.
Okay, it's kind of, does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, all right. Okay. Did you have other members in your family that encouraged you in this route?
Yes, and actually specifically here in the Permian Basin area, my grandmother and grandfather lived in Lubbock, and they lived in Amarillo when my mom was born, and or Odessa. I'm sorry. Okay, let me start over.
All right.
Okay, so my grandparents lived in the Permian Basin, and my mother was born in Odessa, and then they moved to Amarillo, and she was raised in Amarillo and went to Tascosa High School,
Yeah.
which is where you went too.
Yeah, we've had this conversation.
Yeah, so y'all just missed each other by a year.
Yeah.
And so I grew up coming out to visit this area quite a bit, and everybody ended up in Lubbock. My mom was at Texas Tech, and that's where she met my dad. And so they were all very encouraging of my art, especially my grandmother, my Nana. She really, every time we'd go stay at her house, she would bring out all the different papers that she had for us to color on and different types of markers and crowns and paints, and just, she had this room that she called her bird room. I guess there used to be a bird there at some time, but it had been a while since one was there, and so she just made that into the craft room, and we sat in there and made all kinds of stuff and just loved it. So
Well, I'm still going to harp on your childhood just a little bit. What types of things did you like to draw or paint when you were a child?
Horses were my favorite thing.
Horses.
I wanted to be a horse. I wanted to draw a horse. I wanted to watch TV about horses. Anything horse was my jam.
Yeah, I've got a horse thing going on right now.
Do you?
And so I'm really into horses right now.
Oh,
so
awesome.
They wasn't that way when I was a kid, but right now I'm all about horses. I've got some dear friends in other parts of the state that have horses, and so they've really turned me on to horses. And so what I'm doing right now, I've already done one commission from a lady that lives in Ohio of her horse. It was a cross between a Percheron and a paint.
Wow.
Yeah, that's some horse. And so I did a painting for her, and she just loves it. And that was the first horse I ever did. And so I didn't know anything about horses, and so I had to teach myself about horses because I was never raised around horses. And I'm working with another lady in the Houston area that also had a horse that passed on, and so I'm working with her to reconstruct what her horse was like, and that's been a real challenge to do that long distance wise. And so yeah, I'm all about horses right now. So that's
Well, that's awesome. And I recently got engaged to a professional bronc rider.
Oh my!
So that's a whole other area of horses that I haven't been familiar with, but it's just pretty inspiring for my artwork to watch him. Videos of him. His last ride was in 2019, but just to see the videos of the leather straps and all the fringe and just the movement of the horse and him trying to hang on, and it's pretty fascinating. So I'm starting to paint more rodeo pieces. So
yeah, I haven't gotten there yet, so I don't know if I will get there, but certainly we've got the horse in common.
Yes.
Yeah. I think my favorite horse is. Are you familiar with the what's it called, the Przewalski's horse? It's that wild horse of Asia, Mongolia. It's got that
Oh,
real stiff, erect mane.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a highly endangered species, but I think that's probably my favorite horse.
Really? Is that one related to the Etruscan horse or like the original horses?
I well, I don't know how closely it's related to it. I just know that it's its own unique species, and it's one of the last surviving species of horses. I mean, all the horses that we have right now are all the same species, but different varieties through
Right.
selective breeding. But so the Przewalski's horse is a wild horse through and through, and
How
so
neat.
yeah. So anyway, that's really got my interest up. Okay, let's advance to, like say, later in school, like high school and then college. Did you stay with art, or did you take any side paths or anything?
Yes, I originally, like I was saying, wanted to be a veterinarian, and I was a pre-vet major and ended up changing to art education. So ended up doing student teaching in Washington State, and then I came back to Texas after that.
Okay, and so did you go to school in Texas for art, or?
Yes, I graduated from Texas Women's
Oh,
University,
okay, yeah.
but
Yeah.
I did a student teaching up there in Washington.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay, I get it now. Well, did you pursue graduate work?
No, I never did.
Okay.
No.
Well, it seems like I read that you ended up in Arizona.
Yes, so I went originally to college in Tucson at the
Oh, okay.
University of Arizona,
Okay.
and I just fell in love with the desert and the cacti, and how they have the combination of the beauty, but also the strength to withstand
Yeah.
the harsh climates that they live in, and I just all the different variations, and even walking around here in Midland, seeing all the blooming cactus and everything, and just it's beautiful. So I transferred back to Texas Women's University and
Okay.
ended up graduating from there in
Oh,
Texas.
okay. I'm glad that you see the beauty here in the desert areas, whether it be in the Sonoran Desert or on the southern Great Plains, transitioning into the Chihuahuan Desert here. Because I agree with you. There is a beauty here, and it can be a subtle beauty. And I kind of had a discussion with somebody else yesterday about, that couldn't find any beauty in this area whatsoever, and I kept trying to explain what the beauty is there. You just need to learn how to look.
Yeah.
It's not going to be Purple Mountain's majesty or sandy beaches or anything like that, but the beauty is here if you know how to look. Mm-hmm. And so I guess where I'm going with this is that you really have to spend time in these areas to really be attuned to what's there.
Yes.
The relationships of plants and animals and people and things like that before you actually start seeing the beauty.
Yeah, I agree. And, going back to creation and God being the creator, like I always think of he could have just made everything brown in
Yeah.
the same shape and, just maybe one or two types of trees instead of
Yeah,
hundreds of thousands. And
yeah.
so I always think West Texas has the most beautiful sunsets.
Oh, yeah, yes, absolutely. It's kind of. You remember that movie several years ago? I think it was one of the Indiana Jones movies. It was I forget. It wasn't the original Raiders of the Lost Ark. It was one of the others. I don't know if it was Temple of Doom or something or another. But anyway, the end scene of it, where Harrison Ford and I think Sean Connery and maybe somebody else go horseback riding off into the sunset. You know where they filmed that sunset?
Was it Midland?
It was in West Texas.
Oh,
Anywhere.
really?
Yeah. So even Hollywood knows that we got the greatest sunsets.
There you go. Yep,
Yeah.
I would agree
So
with that.
it's well known outside of here. If you want a good sunset, you know where to go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. All right. Tell me about the art that you're doing now, the type of things that you're doing that you have on exhibit right now at Sibley Nature Center.
Sure. They're all mixed media, so I paint on paper, and I cut out shapes of paper, and then I use cardboard. I'll put different, usually I do a repetitive moon in the sky of every piece, and then usually on the ground I'll do the cardboard, and I have gold leaf, and then I use molding paste, so they have a lot of texture, and they're all modern West, as what I like to call them. So it's kind of old West meets the new West, and I use the bright colors and make it more modern, I guess, than the traditional Western art. And I kind of got into this from a trip to Marfa I took back in 2015. We drove through Midland and got from Dallas through Midland, and then went on to Marfa, and just the all the modern art in the middle of nowhere, and like you're in the Wild West, and then there's this combination of two worlds that are like merging there, and it was so eye-opening to me. I just kind of something clicked, and I was like, I want to pursue this and discover this more.
As I mentioned, you've gotten, mostly just incredible comments about the uniqueness of your figures and the use of the mixed media and all kinds of strange materials that you're incorporating into your pieces, and the characters that you're doing are I find amazing. And of course there will be some knucklehead is now what raccoon is going to handle a gun type thing. That's so do you get do you get mostly positive responses from your artwork?
Yeah, I guess my goal is to make people smile, to kind of make a combination of different things, like the Old West and New West, like some humor and some personality. And I kind of like to personify animals quite a bit. And I like to use them more than a human, because people automatically will judge a human, if they'll, that it's already got some kind of connotation attached to it because it's a human. But if you use an animal, you can get your message across without any judgment.
I love that pair that you have in there for the Lone Ranger and Tonto from the old TV and radio series, and see you've got the Lone Ranger as a raccoon. And I can't think of what do you have Tonto as?
He's a coyote.
Okay, he's a coyote. Okay, all right. Some of the older people get that. They recognize the Lone Ranger and Tonto from the old TV series. I think the pieces that caught my attention more than anything else was that diptych of that red fox, and also the jackalope. I love that piece.
Thank you. Yeah, I did a series of pearl snap shirt cowboys. And so I did 7 pieces just in different pearl snap shirts with their belt buckles, and then their embroidery on the lapels, and just kind of that old Western style.
I thought in the notes that you sent me that you had also had some commercial ventures with your art. Can you tell me about any of those?
Sure. It's been several years ago. I designed a pair of boots for Dixon Boot Company, and they were a custom boot company from the 1800s. Here in Texas. And they decided to come out with a commercial line. And so they designed 2 pair of women's boots, or created 2 pair of women's boots and 2 pair of men's boots to start out with. And they had asked if I could do one of their women's pair. And so I created a little short boot that's the Yellow Rose of Texas. So it's got yellow roses on it.
Oh, wow. Okay. And so I guess each of these boots will be custom made, so no 2 pair are going to be exactly alike?
Well, so this will be a commercial line that they're selling in stores and online, and instead of the custom boot option, which was what they were just doing before, was the custom ones. And so they wanted to have something like to package and sell that was already together.
Well, the boots that you're wearing today, are they of your design? Or?
No, I wish.
These
are by Lucchese, which I love them. Also.
Well, how did you end up getting? I mean, did the boot company contact you, or?
Yes, they did.
Oh, okay.
And then I also did a few pieces for Double D Ranchwear. They had wanted some designs, and so I did a few for them. And have yet to see what happens with that. So
Okay, all right. So, any other commercial ventures? Have you done like any illustration type work?
no, I
No?
haven't.
Okay.
No, it'd be fun though. I'd
Okay.
like to do a children's book sometime. I think
Oh, yeah.
that would be fun.
I remember I used to get one of my cousins used to be after me a lot that she'd do the writing if I'd do the illustration. She's wanting to do a children's book with me, but it never
Yeah.
materialized. And
Well, I didn't know that all the art in the Sibley Nature Center was yours. That's amazing.
yeah, I dabble.
It's really great. I loved it. I was taking pictures of them and
Oh,
just
thank you very much.
yeah.
Yeah. That's what I did when I was, well, I didn't do that when I was a child. I mean, that was why I was initially hired at Sibley Nature Center. I was hired as an artist.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And it took a long time before they started to realize, hey, I've got a background in science too. And so, how about it?
Well, you have an extensive background in science.
Well, yeah, I try. I like to think that I've got a background both in art and science, but like I said earlier, that I've got to have a foot in each camp. Otherwise, I just feel incomplete.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah. I read something also on the notes that you gave me that you are a descendant of William F. Buffalo Bill Cody.
Yes.
Did you tell me about that?
Well, I didn't even know this really until I guess maybe about 5 or 6 years ago. We were talking about my grandfather who lived in Lubbock, and his great uncle, I think, was Buffalo Bill Cody. So he is a descendant. I'm a descendant of his, and
Okay.
he was really involved with Buffalo and a Wild West showman, and
Yeah.
so I do paint quite a few bison in my work, and I like to personify them as cowboys often. And
Yeah.
we actually have his baby spoons. My mom's got them in her kitchen, but they were a long time ago. They would give baby spoons and write the baby's name on
Oh,
them, and
really?
that's what they would
Okay.
feed the baby with, I guess. But they're kind of a family heirloom from him. But they have
okay.
his name, William F. Cody.
Wow.
So.
That's amazing. So those have always been in your family?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, I can't even begin to wrap my mind around being related, even not necessarily closely, but even distantly related to somebody's as well known as Buffalo Bill Cody. Have you ever been up to the up in Cody, Wyoming, the Buffalo Bill Center Museums?
We did. I was a really young little girl at the time, and I don't remember much of it. But when I was a kid, my dad really liked to go on these really long road trips from Dallas all the way up to Canada.
Yeah.
And so we would go through different towns, and we went to Cody to see that
Yeah.
a long time ago.
I was there not too long ago. It seems like I spent what was it, I want to say it was either my 60th or maybe it was my 65th. No, it's my 60th birthday. I wanted to go someplace I'd never been before, and so I chose Yellowstone National Park and the Grand Tetons and all that country up there. And I fell in love with the town of Cody, and the Buffalo Bill Heritage Center. The museum complex is just off the charts awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did some research on them, and I thought it was really fascinating that show united so much of the America back then, and then also the world. I guess it enhanced the relations of Great Britain
Yeah.
and America, and
Yeah.
it just kind of, there's something about animals and nature that brings people together, and the Wild West, is a fascinating thing.
Yeah, perhaps was he like a bigger star in Europe than he was here in America?
I don't know if he was a bigger star there, but I know that they really took a liking to his
Yeah.
show, and they started taking it over there
Yeah.
and performing there also.
Yeah, that kind of reminds me of bird artist James Audubon, that he was a bigger hit over in England and France than he was here in the United States. And so they were just fascinated by this long-haired frontiersman, this wild sort of artist, and they were just mesmerized by him. And so not necessarily so here in the United States. He had to go over to Europe to be able to sell his prints and be successful at it and be able to make a living with it.
Yeah.
So I was just wondering if the same was true about the notoriety of Buffalo Bill, if he was like a bigger name over there than he was over here.
Yeah, that's a good question.
I don't know. Kind of reminds me. Are you familiar with the artist Robert Leno? He did a lot of portraiture. We're talking about like I'm gonna say early 1900s anyway. He did a lot of portraiture of some of the more famous Native Americans, Great Plains Native Americans. He did a portrait of Buffalo Bill Cody.
Oh, cool.
And I've got a print of that at home.
Oh, wow.
And some of my relatives in an attic up in the Denver area, they came across some of his original cartoon sketches that they're paintings from at some museum somewhere. But anyway, they had the original pencil drawings.
How neat.
Right by Robert Leno, and one of those was Buffalo Bill Cody.
Well, how do you like that?
I love it. Well, Elizabeth, is there anything else that I haven't asked that you would like to share about your art?
Let me think. Let me see here. Well, I am very grateful to be at a part of the Sibley Nature Center. I hadn't ever been to it before, but I'm just blown away by the work that you do there, and it's just it's a beautiful place that y'all have created there to educate people about being outside in nature, and I feel like that's kind of a lost thing right now, and to just bring more people to see it all in one place and all the history, and I loved walking around in there when you were showing me like the mammoth tusk and just so many fascinating things. So it's an honor to have my pieces there.
Well, it's an honor to have them there, and I can say at Sibley Nature Center, it's not a me thing, it's a team thing, and we've got a very good team, a very dedicated team, and I'm honored to be a part of it, and we're so glad that you've chosen to share your work with us.
Well, thank you.
So, Elizabeth, thank you once again. That's worth a fist bump. Boom. Okay, and I think we're done here.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right, thank you.